What's up, Dragon Brood? We're about to find out if we knew what we were talking about or not. Because we took some shots and boy, there's some review to do. But y'all seem to like these videos where we hold ourselves accountable on both our overrated and underrated videos. So if you want to see what we talked about stuff that was overrated, which by the way, I think we did a damn good job, you need to get over to Dev's channel. And where can they find you, buddy?
That's me. SBMTG is all you have to put into your trusty YouTube address bar. If you wanted, you could type out Strictly Better MTG, but don't do that to yourself. SBMTG, come check out our review of the overrated EOE cards. And we're also doing stuff for Spider-Man too, so go check that out.
Yep. So yeah, this is going to be a fun one. I think this was a fun one to do because I feel like we took some chances on these lists. And we hit more than we missed on these.
I think so, for the most part.
I think the ones we missed on were very low cost, low risk. So that's very good. All right, starting with, we're just going to go down the list. We're not even going to, because we did have a couple of extra cards we talked about at the end of the video. So let's just run down them, and we'll start with you here, Dev, with the first one.
All right. Yeah, my number 5 last time was Depressurize. This is a spell that I've seen in the arena from time to time. But I would say that Shoot the Sheriff kind of won the 2-mana removal war, all things considered. But every now and again, you'll see Depressurize in the arena, but it doesn't show up too much in MTGO leagues and stuff. So I guess I'll take a light L on this one. You know, I don't expect all of my cards that I pick for underrated cards to end up being good. If I hit like 1 out of 5 or 2 out of 5, I'm excited. This is just kind of, there's a reason this was my number 5. You know what I mean? Sure. I didn't expect too much from it, but at the time, we were all looking for good, like black removal to replace the stuff we were losing. And I think Depressurize has done that in some decks, but, you know, obviously it's not the best removal spell in the format.
Yeah, I think the thing here, though, even as a mist, right, it was pretty low cost, right? Yeah. It's a common, like, there's nothing really at risk here. I think if somebody wanted to have taken a chance on them, you're not blowing up a bunch of resources, even on Arena. I think it's totally fine on a card like this. Like, is it still useful? Sure, it still hits the removal of a lot of stuff. But I think it's kind of similar to how people were hyped about, like, Overkill from Final Fantasy. It's just sometimes things just don't hit the way you want them to. Yep. You know, it's just like the format doesn't hit right. Certain removal just end up being better. And I think that's just what we ran into here.
It's like, I will say, in my favor, I have seen Depressurize cast more than the Overkill spell.
Sure.
I have no reasons to believe Overkill might actually be playable here soon. And a lot of those reasons have to do with the new aura that's in the set. Maybe we'll talk about it in a different video, but one way or the other, I do think that I've seen Depressurize cast maybe 6 or 7 times. So, you know, even though it hasn't lived up to my expectations or hopes for it, at least I've seen it out there in the world from time to time. And like you said, it's a common, you know?
Yeah, and I think for a lot of people, it's just a value removal because like you already have it in your collection. I'll just play this instead of crafting an uncommon to remove something or whatever. And like, it's fine. It's still going to get the job done. It's just a typical two mana removal that does what it needs to do.
Now, similarly, you picked a lower rarity card for your number 5. Yeah.
And I think if I remember right, the preface I gave on this was, if spacecraft were to be a real thing, this is the type of card that'll get some play. Turns out spacecraft were not a real thing. So this card did not get some play. And that's sort of what I expected was going to happen, right? If spacecraft were going to be legit, this is it. If not, you know, and spacecraft for the large part ended up becoming just parts of other decks where like if you played the utility one you need, we didn't play a lot of spacecraft or planets for that matter, really.
There's no like spacecraft deck, you know? Like, some decks will play like a spacecraft that's coming up later on the list. Yeah. Some decks will play that, but for the most part, there's not a lot of spacecraft out there.
Yeah, and the card we're talking about is Drill Too Deep. It's the 2 mana instant. You choose one, put 5 charge counters on a spacecraft or a planet, or you destroy an artifact. Now, don't get me wrong, the destroy artifact half has still been totally relevant. But
that's fine.
You have other options, or you have Suplex, a Braid, whatever, that just do more relevant things with their other option, is the thing. Like, are there times where putting 5 charge counters on a spacecraft would still be useful? Sure, but not enough that it made this card worthwhile.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, I had to, this is, I think, the only card on this list that I had to look up. Like, you know, I had to, what does this do again? Oh, yeah, it turns on spacecraft. And, like, Yeah, ultimately, I haven't seen this anywhere in the wild, but sometimes you swing, and if you're gonna swing and miss, then some again, it's better to do it on a lower rarity card. But I don't think anybody like wasted wild cards or anything on this just because you'll wait a couple of days to see if the spacecraft deck is any good, and
Oh,
like
of
when
course.
it doesn't show up, you're like, okay, that's fine. So again, I think that especially with our number fives, we're always taking like this is a weird one. It's like
Oh, yeah,
we're
yeah.
always saying that. So, I think that you took a swing that was worth taking because, like you said, if spacecraft had been a deck, this would be a pretty fun card, but this didn't end up working out that way. And that's fine.
Yep.
That's fine.
Now, the next one, I think we were both excited about Thrumming Hivepool, but
Yeah.
like, why don't you go ahead and talk about that one?
Yeah, I went back and watched this video, and we did both kind of pop when I said Thrumming Hivepool. I expected this to maybe show up in a kind of sweeper based mono white deck of some kind because it's a creature factory. It doesn't care if you play sweepers; you'll have a steady stream of creatures. And we just really didn't end up in that standard. With
Mhm.
VV being the best deck in the format, and with the other decks being, Demir, which will just blow out your 6 mana play with a counter spell or whatever. We are just not in a format that's very hospitable to a card like this. It's a big commander piece, but even as a commander piece, I think it's fallen a bit in price, a good bit in price since previous season. So I don't even know if it's doing that much work there, to be honest with you, but it certainly didn't do much in standard. So I can't
Yeah,
take any credit for a hit on this one.
I think the thing in standard, and this was the one thing I was concerned about, is like I thought the value would hold a little bit more just because
Mm-hmm.
people are excited about slivers. There had recently been some sliver decks out in the world for commander and older stuff. So I was like, okay, maybe. But in standard, we've really only seen it kind of again where you started seeing the heavy artifact decks, right? Where you're already playing like Ugins and other stuff. Like people were
Right.
slipping this in. Sometimes people were ramping into it. I did that with a couple of Simic builds and stuff, which was fine. But that's kind of it. It was sort
Yeah.
of just fine. And as Vivi has rose to prominence, that sort of put a lot of constriction on the format and the way everything is built and what people are doing. And everything's trying to be faster or tighter and just not much room for the hive pool. I think it's still fun. It's playable in Commander for the sliver decks. It's still a thing. I think
Yeah.
personally, I think long term value is still going to be there. I think if you pick them up now is probably the best time to pick them up because you can get
Honestly,
one
yeah.
for
What
like
are they right now? Like a
three, four
couple of
bucks.
yeah, I was thinking like $3. That's really
Yeah, so if you can
good.
get one for $3 or $4, I think they'd be good to pick up now and sit on because I think long term, this is not the type of card that's going to get reprinted a bunch. I wouldn't
Nah,
imagine. So good to have. Sliver players are still going to want these, but for standard, yeah, this one just beginning of the season, people were excited to play it. It did some big fun stuff, but as the season's gone on, it's been less and less.
yeah, yeah. Agreed. I've seen it less and less. This is at least a card I've seen resolve, but not too often. And I've played it in Ugin decks too, but it's got this problem in Ugin decks where like you could just play any other card and
Yeah,
it'd be, you know what I mean? Like
yeah,
a lot of Ugin always has this problem where it plays like, oh, I want to play these 5, 6, 7 drops. And they're kind of, I can play the End Stone in my deck or something like that. Nexus of Becoming.
yeah,
So at some
yeah.
point, it's like, what 6 drops do I play? Do I play any 6 drops? Is that actually the right thing? You know what I mean? So it's almost like, sure, it kind of goes in those Ugin decks, but it doesn't have to necessarily. Like it's
Oh,
not the
exactly,
best card in those
exactly.
decks. So yeah, I'll kind of take a miss on that, but I don't mind, especially
Okay,
considering our next couple of picks were bangers.
yeah,
So
man. Let me tell you, this card, good old Ouroboroid,
woo, it's
man. Like I remember when I saw this and I read it, and I just went, "There's almost no way this card's bad, right?" For 4
yep,
mana, so it's a 2 green for a 1/3 plant worm. At the beginning of combat on your turn, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control, where X is this creature's power. And truthfully, y'all probably all know this if you play any amount of arena in standard,
yeah,
because this
yeah.
card, I
You
like.
know this card.
I truly don't know how this card wasn't more hyped to start the season.
Yeah, how it slipped under the radar.
Yeah, because I went back and looked, and I don't know if maybe it's just people went, "Oh, it's a 4 mana green thing that wants you to have counters and blah blah." And those are always just kind of average or whatever. And people are going like, $20 is too much to pay for this, whatever. You know what? The card is still $20.
It's $20. Yeah, I was just checking that out too.
It did not drop. Matter of fact, it went slightly up in price. Like it
I
did.
was gonna say that. I
Yeah,
feel like this card, yeah, it ticked up just a little bit from its right at release price. It ticked back up like $1.50. So
yeah, which is
yeah,
wild. So yeah, card's good. I again, this is one. I don't know how people this. It's easy to look back and for people to say, I don't know how people didn't see this. It's obvious this card is good. That's just not what the feeling was at the time when we made the
At the
video.
time, nope. We both really liked this card. I co-signed this one like crazy because it's one of those. I think we compared it to Sheldred at one point. It's a 4-drop that doesn't look like much, but it rewards you for just playing Magic. Like moving to your attack step rewards you. It does something the turn it comes into play, and if it stays out for a turn or two, you just win the game off of it.
I think the
And
biggest thing for me was that the floor was often pay 4, pump your team for 2,
yep,
even if it dies. You know what I mean? That's usually what happens. Fine. You know what I mean?
that's
Like,
good enough.
yeah.
And it got a removal spell out of the opponent's hand at the same time. It's a pretty good deal,
Yep.
And that's kind of how it's proven to be, whether it's in the Tifa decks or the Simic Ouroboroid decks or just the mono green Ouroboroid decks. I've seen a green red Ouroboroid deck perform on MTGO. And these are all decks that I haven't just seen on MTG or on Arena. These are all decks that I've seen actually like perform in MTGO challenge tournaments.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
Ouroboroid is here to stay. This is in 3 different decks or something right now. And it's the best card in the decks that it's in, typically. Turn 3 Ouroboroid is really difficult to get around if you don't have the removal spell right then and there.
Even more so if you play Tramplers on turns 1 or 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, right?
Yep. And that's easy. That's easy enough,
Yep.
There are mono green Stompy decks in the Arena that run this. There are blue green decks in a MTGO that play this to great effect. So whether it's tempo or just Stompy or whatever, Ouroboroid has been freaking everywhere. Not everywhere. I won't say that this season, but it's a B+ deck for sure.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
below Dimir, it's below Vivi,
Sure.
but
But
those are the
solid tier
unfair
2
decks in standard,
solid tier 2, and you're going to run into it on a ladder at least once or twice a night.
Yep.
You know?
So you hit hard on this one. For
Well,
sure.
your next one ain't too bad either, though.
Yeah, my next one was Quantum Riddler, which is now a 2 to 3 of in the de facto undisputed best deck in standard. On MTGO, people have been playing again either 2 or 3 copies of Quantum Riddler in VV for the last 3 weeks to a month at this point. Oddly, I don't see this on the Arena as often, but when I do see it on the Arena, because weirdly, I don't see VV on the Arena as often as I feel like I should. But when I do see this on the Arena, it's not just in VV. It's in a few different decks doing funky stuff. But the one big deck that it's in just happens to be the best deck in standard. And even though it's not VV, it's not Soul Cauldron itself, it is still part of the team. And I think that that's a pretty big hit. I'll take that.
I've seen people flickering this. So they get the value card twice and then it just stays on the battlefield. Right? I've seen people playing this with Dowerport Mage, so they could pay 2 mana, put it into play, draw a card, it goes away, they draw a card.
Draw another card, yeah.
There's so many silly things this card is doing, and it just shows up in random places because it's still worst case scenario, pay 2, draw a card. Sometimes draw 2 cards,
I mean, just that line of text, like if you draw a card, draw more cards instead. Like that's insane. It's insane to be on a Magic card. And the warp cost is relatively low, like just the floor of it. It's a big toughness flyer, that'll win the game in a few turns. Like, okay, they dealt with the Vivi. Okay, they dealt with the Tersa Light Shatter and the Marauding Mako. This can still just like come out of exile in the later stages of the game if you haven't already won and just kill your opponent. So just really good, like plan B for the VV decks.
I think the wild thing to me on this card is that for some reason it's a 4/6, and I don't even like why is it not a 4/4 or a 4/3 or whatever? Still an insane amount of value. Yeah, but 4/6 is wild.
It doesn't die to Twin Moss Stormbrood and the other things that deal 5 damage in the format right now.
It just blocks things straight up.
Blocks all day. Blocks all day. I wouldn't be surprised if in some VV matchups it was, whoever got to this card first wins for a variety of reasons. You're drawing more cards and you have a thing that can actually block their VV when it comes in and still live for the most part.
And this is actually almost doubled in value from the time we did the reviews at the time. It was about $14, $15. Now it's closer to $28 to $30. So.
Yeah, so that's what we call a hit right there.
Yeah.
It is not often that pre-sale prices, that cards go up from their pre-sale price. That is relatively rare. So with these last 2 cards, I think we'll call those like maybe the biggest hits we've ever had since we started doing this.
Yeah.
Just massive stuff there. We'll calm it down a little bit for the next card, but I have still seen this pop up a few times.
Here's the thing on this one, because I purposely did this on both. I tried to find a planet to overrate and a planet to underrate based
Right.
on, what people were viewing them in the hype at the time. And unfortunately, Kavaron Memorial World just didn't see, like, I knew it wasn't going to see a lot, but I was like, okay,
Yeah.
there's probably going to be some fringe spots for this, some late game mono red situations, whatever. Format never allowed this to be a thing.
Not really. And like there's a mono red deck in standard that doesn't play this, which is
Yeah.
wild.
Yeah.
Um my thought is if this card sees play, it'll be in some sort of weird like think like Teamer Doppelgang or
Sure.
something
Sure.
like that. So something like that.
I,
But I
I
have
think
seen
though,
I've seen the card floating around from time to time.
yeah, I've seen it a couple of times,
Yeah.
but also the floor was very low on the hype for this card anyway.
Yeah. That's
So
true. Yeah.
it's not like there was a lot missing here. The issue though for me is that also the theme of the set for robots just never materialized.
Not really.
So there
Yeah.
was never a time, like, because if you were playing robots with red, then it would make sense to kind of be like, oh, okay, well, I want this card so I can also get the late game robot interactions, whatever. But it just was never a thing.
We'll see. There's some cards that make or care about really cards that make robots in the Spider-Man set. Maybe we go to Strixhaven and there's like a robotics or engineering teacher that, like
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
eventually we might tie all of this robot stuff together eventually, I guess is my point. But we haven't had time to do that just
yeah.
yet,
I
you
think the
know?
only thing carrying this card for a few bucks piece, if you want one, is really just Commander. You
Yeah,
know,
to be
like,
honest.
because Commander decks, they're just throwing in one of the planets that match the color of their deck or whatever, just gets
It's-
future late game value, which is fine.
yeah,
Like, but that's about all you're getting out of it right now.
it's mostly meant for a format like Commander, I think, too, where it's a really low opportunity cost there, but in standard, just playing a tap land like at all kind of
Oh,
sucks.
sure.
So
I
yeah,
a
like
a tap land in the type of deck that would want that card is
right,
the thing, right?
exactly.
Like,
Yeah,
it's not so bad if you're playing the white one and you wanna, like, copy an enchantment late or something, right? Like, that
yeah,
deck's okay playing a
that's
tap land.
fine. Or like
Yeah.
sometimes you'll see the blue one in a simulacrum synthesizer, only they have a buttload of artifacts and
Yeah,
huge
exactly.
dudes, so it makes sense. It's like this one, there just aren't enough spots to get it online and
Yeah, there's
working.
really not.
But like you said, I think that in some ways these planet lands were overhyped in general. This one received the least hype of any planet
Yeah, and
lands. I
that's the
can
only
see,
reason it made my list,
yeah, I
honestly.
can see why you put it on there. Is what I'm saying.
But alright.
Um,
Speaking of, I guess, planets and spacecraft, that leads us to our
yeah,
next card.
kind of red stuff and robots. I chose a Warmaker Gunship, which is another one like I've seen it in the arena from time to time, but not too often. It is also occasionally a part of the 5-color weapons manufacturing deck that really didn't do much this season, but one player was fighting the good fight on MTGO, getting results with it. That said, even when it was in the weapons manufacturing deck, it was just like a one of,
Yeah.
So this card really didn't do a whole heck of a lot yet, but maybe if we get a good like red based artifact deck, this card can come to life. But so far, we just really don't have that as an option. You
Yeah,
know,
it's still in a spot where I don't know what to think of it because I've played it a couple of times myself and it was
so have I.
fine. It was useful. It's fairly easy to make fly. It only has 6 to have to hit for the station counters. So I don't really know why it hasn't gotten played at all, unless maybe it's just a speed situation.
Maybe.
But
You know,
I don't know. It's fine. Again, the format just didn't allow this type of card to do anything. While it has all the right words, it just didn't hit for whatever reason.
like I feel like if you're gonna make this work, then it's because you're getting value out of it being an artifact in some way, shape, or form. If you're not, then it's just kind of a sorcery speed 3 mana conditional removal spell that needs you to have other stuff on the table. And like when you really say it like that, it kind of sounds pretty bad, but it's kind of like a case of the uneaten feast, and that's seen play from time to time. So like maybe eventually, but it'll take just the right kind of aggressive artifact build, and we don't have it yet.
Yeah.
So that said, we move back into the land of a couple of I think pretty light, not as heavy hits, but light hits.
I would say for being
Moving on.
underrated, they turned out to be pretty good hits. But
Okay, agreed.
yeah. And honestly, I'd say 4 of our next 5 that we talked about, actually. But for me, it was the Seriema. And 3 mana, so 1 white white for a spacecraft. It's a 5/5. If you turn it on, you have to pay 7 station. It has flying. other tapped legendary creatures you control have indestructible, but more importantly, when it enters the battlefield, you can search your library for a legendary creature. This ended up being pretty damn useful in a few different now, particularly the most popular use has been Kona. It's
Yeah.
basically if I
Yeah.
have this, I guarantee to have something to tap to Kona on the very next turn, right?
Yep. Kona's
So
the big one.
yeah, that
And you go get your Kona with it. It
that's
curves. It's
exactly it.
beautiful, beautiful stuff. Yeah.
And that was my first thought when I saw it. I'm like, there's no way this doesn't work. Like from that point on, your opponent has to just leave mana up to interact or whatever because they can't let you play Kona and tap it. Like, and you just have that threat the entire time for the rest of the game, which
Yep.
is great. So that's been good. But I've seen uses where people are just playing random like Naya Legend type stuff.
Yep.
And it's
Yep.
like, okay, I can just go get any of the thing that do I need a life
Whatever you
gainer? Do I need a
need.
thing to put counters on stuff? Do I need a thing that kills a creature? Like it's the best toolboxy card. And then randomly, you get to go so like, all right, it's live because I tapped my stuff to it. I get to attack for 5, but now you can't kill my creatures because they're all tapped.
They're all tapped. Yep. Yep. I've seen this in a few different piles too. I've actually seen this a couple of times on the arena. Not a common use of it, but I've seen it a couple times in like the mono white deck because it can go and get a Biza for the next turn on curve,
Oh, that's cool too.
which is usually what they want to do with it, right? But I've seen this in the Sarah Farron decks, and those are
Yep.
kind of like Naya Legends decks. But this goes and gets Sarah or anything else. It goes and gets like Roxanne or something for you. Sometimes it goes and gets Yuna. I have actually seen a 2 of this in the Yuna decks and kind of
Yep.
the early builds. So yeah, it's not just Kona. That is, like you said, that is the deck that it mostly sees play in. But this just like Quantum Riddler, like it's got one deck, but it's also got like 3 or 4 other little places it fits into. So pretty good hit, I think, on the Seriema.
I think what makes the Seriema good is it's if you're building for it, it's one of the best tutors you can get because it still does stuff after you've searched up your card.
Yeah.
Right? Like you go
Yeah.
get the piece you need, and now not only do you get a thing, it's a thing that could potentially protect your stuff from dying as well.
Yeah.
Or you can do the fun thing of just set it up to where it only needs 1 or 2 counters. So your opponent sweeps the board. Then the next thing you play, you crew it up, and now you're attacking with the 5/5 the next turn.
Right.
Right?
Right. Especially if you sniff the sweeper. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like if you know it's coming anyway, like, well, I guess I don't need this attack. I can bank this attack step into the Seriema. There's a lot of ways to use this card. There really are. And honestly, we've had standards in the last 5 years where a 3-mana tutor was playable.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And that's just, at the floor, that's what this does. But it's also a tutor that puts a permanent on the table. It's an artifact if you care about that. It can be bargained away. There's like 1,000 things you can do with this card besides just station it. So, yeah, honestly, I think that absolutely counts. Maybe not the same level as like Ouroboroid, but a pretty good hit, I think, in
Oh
my
yeah.
book.
Especially when people weren't even considering playing the card for the most
Oh, yeah,
part.
people did not care about this card like at all. like at all.
Now, I think the next one also was one that went on the radar. It's starting to find a home too.
I am very proud of having chosen this card. This is my absolute favorite card in all of Edge of Eternities, and he has proven to be perhaps the best black 4-drop creature in Standard, ladies and gentlemen. This is Elegy Acolyte right here, a 4-mana, 4/4 lifelinker that draws you cards and makes guys so long as you avoided that turn. What a crazy man. This dude, I was worried that in Dimir, one of the decks he goes in, he would not be good in the same slot as Enduring Curiosity. And now the Dimir decks will actually occasionally split copies.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you'll see 3 Enduring Curiosity, 2 Elegy Acolyte, but often you'll see 2 Elegy Acolyte in nearly any deck with swamps. And that's on Arena, that's on MTGO League, that's on MTGO Challenges, Standard Showcase, blah, blah, blah. If a deck has swamps, it will often carry 2 copies of Acolyte. Mono Black Demons, Black X Demons, the Dimir decks that are basically the second best decks in the format, whether it's in the main or the sideboard. This card's in there somewhere. And Victory Lap, I guess. The
I mean,
humblest victory lap I can take.
the
This is a
weirdest
hit.
thing for me on this card is that it's still just not worth much. And I just don't understand.
It's relatively cheap.
Yeah,
It went down to 50 cents, and I don't think it ever really came back
now
up.
I think it's like $1. But I would tell
Okay.
people, like, if you're thinking about playing black, whether it's your standard showdowns or your store championships or whatever, pick these up. They're $1.
Yeah.
I don't
Yep.
think they'll be worth less than they are right now. Like, it's a solid 4-mana body. It has lifelink, and you almost always get to draw at least 1 or 2 cards on it. Like, and the weird part is I catch myself making tokens randomly when I'm not even expecting it. Because I'm like, oh yeah,
Yep.
they block. So like end of turn, I get a 2/2 because they killed my junky guy or whatever.
That's the
Right.
wild thing about this is that often, first of all, your opponents don't remember that's going to happen either. So they'll just block up, not realizing like, okay, I lose my 2/2, you lose your 2/2, and it's my guy is replaced with another 2/2. Like
Hmm.
this keeps you in board presence. It makes it to where like even when your guys get blocked and like you trade in combat and stuff, you're still up on board presence. And like that's an insane magic card. Like if you're at board parity and they're blocking your guys and someone's dying, you get guys.
Yeah.
If you're above board parity and you've got more dudes, then you get to draw cards. Sometimes you get to do both. Like the card is insane. You know where I'm playing this right now? Weirdly, Commander. I'm playing this in
Sure.
LSO Core Commander. And in LSO Core Commander, it makes like little 2/2s that are sacrifice fodder, and you've got enough dudes getting in for combat damage most turns that like you draw an extra card every turn. So I think this is useful in a lot of spots, not just in standard, but we mostly talk about standard here.
But
And this card has been great there.
that's the thing that surprises me though, because human decks are a thing, cleric decks are a thing, life gain decks are a thing.
Yep.
Like, why? And I've seen it played in all these variety of things, and somehow it's still just $1.
Yeah.
Like that's
I
such a
don't
weird
I don't get
thing.
it either. This isn't at the same level as some other cards we're playing in standard. Again, it's not enduring curiosity
Sure.
at the end of the day.
And it's not a
It's not
4 of in
VE.
most of the decks it's gonna be. It's like a
Right.
2
It's like
or a
a two
3.
of.
Yeah.
Right. So, but yeah, I'm a little surprised too that it's not like $3 or something like
Yeah.
that.
I was
So
thinking at
yeah,
least 5 when I went to look it up because
at
it's
this point,
playable in a bunch of things, but it's just not.
I don't get it either, but it is a card a lot of people are playing, and I will take it. But let's get on to your final pick.
You know, the funny thing here on this card is I originally was to be like midway through the season, I was like, man, just miss. This is a cool card, but nobody's really playing it. And then for whatever reason, in the last 2 weeks, I start running into this damn card on the arena ladder, and I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Apparently, somebody figured out you could play this in a deck with Regal Bunny Cord and just blast people for
Yeah.
like 9,
I've,
which
I've
is
seen this interaction.
hilarious. But yeah, pain for all. So it's a 2 and a red for an aura. So you put it on a creature, and then when it enters, enchanted creature deals damage equal to its power to another target. So it could be anything. And then if it's dealt damage, it deals that much damage to each opponent. So yeah, what I think this card started to experience, in addition to that, I've also seen people starting to include it in Commander a little bit because
Yeah.
it hits each opponent. So now it's like, well, there's the whole well, I might attack you because I know you have enough life, and if you block, then we can deal 5 to each of these things or each of these opponents or whatever. And like, yeah, sure, I'm down. So like run in, block, keep the creature, you know. So it has that. But yeah, the fact that people found something creative to do with this here in the last couple of weeks has been kind of surprising because I was about to just write this card off entirely. Like, it looks neat, has the right words, maybe just didn't find a home. But I guess since that bunny corn deck has come on the scene, and I don't even know where that originated. It just
I
popped
saw
up.
this deck. The first time I saw the deck was on Twitter. I
Oh,
have played
interesting.
against it on the arena, but I think it was like Corey Baumeister or something had shared this like red white pain for all deck with Screaming Nemesis, but also Bunny Corn and a couple of other things that can get relatively high power. I think it has Hazaret in it or something. Like
It might.
there's some weird stuff in there. But yeah, I've seen this deck around. I played against the deck like once on arena. But like you said, it was like in the last week. Like it's picking up steam as a concept now.
Yeah, and I don't even know why. But I will say this. I think it's that situation of now because people have seen it played and it's been a list, I'm starting to see a few other lists like tinkering with it or whatever.
Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
see that a lot where one card catches on, then all of a sudden people go, well, what else could I do with this?
Hmm.
And I don't know if people
Yeah.
forgot about it. Maybe people who didn't open one, never considered building with it. Like, I don't know what the case is. But yeah, it actually ended up started seeing some play, and it's still a cheap card. You can get these for
Yeah.
$1.
Yeah, I've got the TCG player says the market price is 63 cents, but
Yeah,
there's actually a really interesting story behind this card. It looks like a miss because it went from $10 pre-order to 63 cents. That's a pretty precipitous drop.
sure.
However, you look closer at the numbers here. Excuse me. A total of 4,000 Pain for Alls have been sold, and they still sell an average of 42 copies a day. This is a super in-demand card.
Which is
Like,
why, again, why are we seeing cards that literally, how are they still $1 when it's that popular? You know what I mean? I
yeah,
don't understand.
Not many cards on TCG Player, even from a relatively new set, sell over 40 copies a day. Most cards don't sell over 25 or 30 copies a day. And we're at 42 copies, and an average, we're talking about a total of 4,000 of these have been sold just through the TCG Player.
Yeah, and that's in
So
8 weeks.
that's, yeah, in 8 weeks. 8 weeks. A lot of cards don't do those kind of numbers in terms of sales. So this is one that people like, if nothing else, and for Commander. But I imagine there's plenty of like budgety standard lists you can put
Mm-hmm.
together with this. I have played against it in the arena. I played against more than just the red white deck. You know, my chat will tell you we play against this card like once a week. When I get on to play some Magic on Twitch. So it's not like it's an unpopular card there either. I haven't seen it do much in MTGO, but it's not like I've never seen the card resolved. I've seen it resolved like 6 times. So
Oh,
people like it, you know?
like I said, in the last couple of weeks, I've seen it a bunch, and it's kind of surprised me.
Yeah. I mean, it's out there. It's out there in the world. And if you're not careful, it'll get you too. Like it's a pretty serious
Oh,
Magic card.
that's the thing. Since it started popping up, I do start thinking about that. Okay, I'm at like 6. If they
Yeah.
play a painful, like I'm not going to be able to block. Like, what does this look like? You know?
Yep. Yeah, when you can turn any creature into a screaming nemesis, it means like if I swing with a 5 power creature, I win the game. You see, like it's
But it's not even that.
insane.
It's like, say you're at 6 and your opponent puts that on a 3, 4, 5 power creature. Well, it's like, well, now you're just backed up because it's like, unless I have a 1/1, I don't even have a reasonable block because I just took 3. So now I block enough to not die, but now I'm down a creature as well.
Exactly.
And
I'm
it's
down
just
board
like,
presence and I'm down life still,
yeah,
even after the chump block. And, a player can just play this on a creature and not attack. They can just say go and like dare you to swing into it at that point. And
yeah,
there's a lot of ways to use this card. And it wouldn't surprise me if like a couple of the other cards we've talked about, not trying to make excuses, but a couple of the other cards we've talked about, it just might not be their time yet. And I
maybe.
think that Pain for All is kind of like that, right?
I mean, some
So
stuff, again, VV's putting pressure on the format that is causing people, rightfully or wrongfully, to panic and build certain ways or whatever. And that is affecting things. So we'll see.
yeah, in a VV standard, I don't think this card can really live, but come what end of November, we might not be in a VV standard
Yeah, who
anymore
knows?
after the ban announcement. So that could really shake things up.
Now,
So we'll see.
let me say this. For when we did this last time, we had a couple of bonus cards we just talked about that ended
Hmm.
up making the list as well. And one of them, I think, was one that you recommended, was Starfield Shepherd.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been around.
Yeah.
I've seen this on occasion. I don't know how popular it is in like top tier decks, but I have seen the card.
Yeah, it's a popular card I see on Arena fairly regularly. Like some stuff where they do want the warp ability, to trigger something. But sometimes it's like, cool, they're just playing it, going to get in the planes, doing their thing,
Yep.
and then they
Yep.
have a creature later. Like, nothing wrong with it, it's just solid.
Yeah, I've seen it on Arena. And now that I think about it, I think I have seen this in like precisely one deck on MTGO, maybe like a mono white thing, but
Mm.
some deck or another has played this card, Starfield Shepherd, but I wanted it to get a little bit more action.
Yeah,
And that's
yeah,
another one where as they print good 1-drops, it might become a better card because
sure.
it goes in tutors ones, right? So we'll see about it, but it is a card that I've seen played because typically like 2-mana things that go get a planes are somewhat playable. And this one was no different necessarily.
Yeah,
So,
I've also seen a couple of life gain decks I've run into where they'll play, I'm guessing 2 copies because,
go get Hinterland.
yeah,
Yeah.
you can go get one of your things that triggers a life gain, or you can also just go get a planes, get yourself right. It triggers the life gain itself if you are some of the enter the battlefield stuff.
Yeah, like interestingly, I think just this week, like 2 days ago, there was a deck that 5-0'd on MTGO League. It was a mono white life gain deck, and it played like Glory Heath Lynx or something. It's like a 2-mana 2/3 lifelink that when it
Yeah,
does combat damage, you get a planes. So similar to Starfield Shepherd, but with Starfield Shepherd, that might be a little bit better when the Spider-Man set comes out, because not only can it go and get your Hinterland Sanctifier, it could also get an Aunt May for you in the new format.
yeah.
Aunt May is a 1-drop that's like exactly like Hinterland Sanctifier, just does the exact same thing. So, I guess having 2 prime targets in terms of 1-drops for a card like this could make it better. It could also go in like the Collector's Cage deck that plays a bunch of 1-drops anyway, the Bright Glass Gearhulk deck
Sure.
that plays a bunch of 1-drops anyway. So yeah, I think there's some play in the future perhaps for this card.
Yeah, I think so.
Huh.
And then our last card, our bonus card that we talked about, was Servandum Sunstar Exemplar.
Hit on this one, right?
Yeah, this is another
Man.
one that I guess because it's mostly in one deck that you see it a lot. is usually going to be in the some form of the sacrifice,
Yeah.
uh, Sephiroth, raise the pass, whatever. Some version of that deck. It's not always playing all those cards, but but it's a great card in there though. No lie. When they have it, the card's outstanding. It's annoying to deal with. Like you're always keeping track of how large it is. Can they sacrifice it? It's a pain in the butt. Like it's a real card.
Yep. As far as aristocrats goes, the sacrifice decks, um, on like in tournament results, we saw more of those decks towards the beginning of the season, and they've slowly phased out. However, I still play against this deck on Arena every time I log into the client. I probably, if I play 2 hours of Arena in a day, I play against the Aristocrats deck twice on average. So is there still people love this deck? I know I do.
Mhm.
But there's still a lot of people that love this deck, and Sir Vondam has come to be like a 2 of. Every now and again, you run across a black white life gain deck that's also playing him. So there's a few uses for this guy, and it turned out that he was a little better than even I thought he might end up being. And I really like him.
Oh
He's
yeah.
an Orzhov legend in Aristocrats. That's like my whole steez or whatever. But I didn't want to have too much hope in the card, but he's surpassed. He's exceeded my expectations for real. He's
Yeah.
in a bunch of these Aristocrats lists.
And I would also say it's another card that if you're wanting to build a budget deck in paper and you want to play, like, this thing won't cost you but $1.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, so scoop up a couple. Why not?
Yeah.
Right? It's
That's
a
another one. If you're like me and you've got an Elasil Core Commander deck, I think like the 75 to $1 this will cost you is well worth what it ends up doing in that deck. So
totally,
no,
totally. But yeah, that wasn't too bad. Considering we took some real shots on some cards
yeah,
that
we did.
people weren't talking about or whatever, I think we still hit pretty strong. And on cards that we told people were underhyped, like get these now, and turns out we were right on several of those as well. So
Mm-hmm.
really, really cool. Because again, I thought this was going to be a set that, because the mechanics were so quirky, we were going to miss more than we hit, but we did a pretty good job overall, I think.
Oh yeah, I think we did better with this one than we often do. Like I've said in the past, you can't expect to get all these right. If you get 2 out of 5, you did great. And I think we did like 2.5 out of 5 on this one. It's like a piece. So I think we did pretty good, all things
Yeah.
considered. That
I
was
mean,
nice.
I'll take a 3 out of 5. That's fine.
Yeah, that ain't bad at all. Usually I'm happy to hit 1 out of 5 if I get it. So yeah.
Yeah, but as a
Productive.
reminder, there's going to be a lot on the channel where I do my regular videos where we're going to talk about what you should and shouldn't craft as the season kicks off after we get more information. So stay tuned for that. People love those videos. And also, if you want to see how we rated ourselves on our overrated picks, be sure to head over to Dev's channel at SBMTG and go help our boy out. Go subscribe. Speaking of which, if you're still here and you've watched us this long, do all the things that make the dings, make us happy, make YouTube happy, let them know you like it. I don't know, even hit the hype button, that weird new thing, whatever that is. Do
I
that.
didn't even know that existed. I'm
Yeah,
gonna
it's
do
weird.
that.
I never see it, but my people tell me it exists. So yeah, let people know you like this type of video. We'd really appreciate it. Otherwise, Dev's going to have his other top 10 stuff coming out, so you can go check things out on his channel. And again, I have a cool secret project coming up here, so you want to subscribe and see that. Hopefully we get it done in the next couple of weeks, but it's something that I think every arena player is going to want to watch. So, and I will tell you, I had to go into the bowels of WotC to be able to get access to this thing. So there's your teaser. But for my boy over at SBMTG, I'm PowrDragn. As always, remember to be awesome and be awesome to each other.